success and failure, you're in the right place. So we got the great folks to talk about it. Really excited about today's guests as well as our co-host. And we're going to welcome everybody in just a moment. I just want to verify that our sound is definitely working. And if you can, let us know. If you can actually see us and hear us, let us know now, and that'll help us to get started. And just if you've ever watched our shows before, you know we like to have lots of fun, right? We're not just going to keep it super serious. We're going to have fun. Even though we're talking about success and failure, it's going to be a fun thing. We want to hear comments from you, feedback from you, questions from you, and we're going to have some games that we're going to play that you're going to be involved in as well. And we're going to also get some good practical value out of this as well as we go throughout this discussion. So we look forward to this. It looks like we may be on, guys. Looks like we are on. Okay, I'm really excited again today. Welcome everyone for joining us today. I have my co-host with me, Ms. Noelle Coles. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm really excited about Dr. Alisha Cornell being on today. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, I was intrigued about what you wanted to talk about, and it's something that I don't see a lot of folks want to talk about up front. And so I applaud you for being willing to open yourself up like this. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're welcome. It took me a long time to get here.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually talk about it. Yes.
And, just in general, when it comes to social media, we talk about transparency and authenticity, and it's very hard to do because to be able to express yourself in ways that you really want to express yourself about things that are uncomfortable to talk about. It's just not easy. So it's a big, big step. Let me ask you this. What do you feel was the biggest contributing factor to make you willing to expose that about yourself?
Oh, one day I woke up and I was really upset. And I was upset because I felt like I wasn't where I should be in my career, in life, not just like at work. And I got upset with myself, and I really I was determined. I said, I'm tired of living inside this bubble of a non-reality. I really I wanted someone to be rough, rugged, raw with me and tell me what my problem was. And when I decided to do that, I remember I started doing a lot of things about self-care. It was really my stress level. I think the contributing factor was the biggest thing was I had applied for a lot of positions and I'd interviewed for these positions and I wasn't getting it. And every single time the person said, you have everything but this one thing. And I was really why don't I see this? Why am I missing this? And I just started asking, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And then every time I would ask that, somebody else along the path would say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Read this book, do this, and I finally came to the point where I was really you know what? Nobody knows anything about me. I am all these things. I'm all these degrees. I'm all this nurse, this, and this. But no one knows that I love Wendy's chicken nuggets. Nobody knows it. So why can't I say this stuff about myself? It wasn't ever my talent. It wasn't ever my experience. All it was that I couldn't see me. I just didn't understand myself. So it was that moment that I was just who am I? Who am I really? I don't even know me. I just remember being 17 and going to college. And now I'm all these years later, and who am I now? And that's when I was okay, get to know you, get to know who you are.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at your background, your profile and everything, and it's impressive. And I'm just where is the failure here? I mean, you're a doctor and nurse practitioner, which is amazing. There has to be a huge story behind getting to that point. So I think people can make some assumptions when they look at yourself and look at your profile, but obviously those assumptions aren't correct. And it also makes me think about all the other folks who haven't been willing to do what you're doing, which is expose it, but we're looking at their profile, we're seeing this person, and we're thinking, man, they got it all together, and how come I don't have it all together? So I appreciate you helping us to see it differently, and it makes us actually in the process feel a little bit better about our own situation, because like
Yeah.
maybe I got stuff to work on too, and it makes you feel better that Dr. Cornell has stuff she's got to work on.
Oh yeah. I had one of my leaders tell me one time that he was looking for a person that I wanted this job, and I'm a bold person. If I want something, I'm going to come directly and say, "Excuse me, can I can I participate in this with you?"
Right.
And what I got from him, he said, "I'm looking for someone who's failed." And I was like, "What?" I
Oh
failed at
wow.
a lot of things, and
Wow.
that was his exact thing. Like, your resume, who you are, like I don't, and it was like, to be honest with you, I failed at being a nurse practitioner. My DNP is nursing practice. It's an executive leadership. And I don't mind saying, I'll be in full transparency. I made a B. If you made a B in the program, you can't be in it anymore. But the reason why I made that B is because I had a personal struggle with my depression. I did not get help. I didn't tell my teachers about it. I didn't tell my manager. I didn't tell anybody. I was overworking. I was burning out. I was doing everything against being in school and staying focused. And I didn't even, at first, initially, I didn't even tell my husband that I wasn't able to be back in the program. I made up a story. I was like, I want to change directions. And I'm going to go another
Wow.
route. And he was like,
Yes.
we had this plan. We talk about things as a family. And it took a long time for me to say, I didn't do well, and that was a failure. A B is a failure, but
Hmm.
I also had to regroup. So what am I going to do? And I think my failures are hidden because even people who've known me for years and years and years, because I always take my failure right back to, here I am, square one. What am I going to do next? Like, let's make up this next game plan. I'm not a complainer. I don't really discuss things out loud, and I don't sit in the failure. So I just regroup. Okay, that didn't work out. Let's go. Next step. What are we going to do next? And there's so many things that I would consider. And I looked up this definition. I gave a talk to a group of CEOs in Texas not too long ago. And the first thing I said was, failure in our dictionary looks at everything negative. It's failure in your life. It's failure in your bank. It was bankruptcy. It was all of those things. But I was like, a failure just means you tried and that plan didn't work.
Right.
Hmm.
So, like, let's kind of change the thought
The
of
mindset.
yes, of how we are defining a failure. If every single time, if I think about it, like when we taught our kid to ride a bike, or when I learned how to ride a bike, you had to fall to learn how to ride. I mean, most kids just don't hop on a bike and then, they're off and they
Hmm.
understand how to use the brakes and how to turn and how to stop. So you have to like fail at some things. I never allowed myself to say I failed because it was detrimental. Like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, this is embarrassing. It was
Right.
not embarrassing. My husband, when I finally told my husband about it, he was like, seriously, what did you think I was going to do? Divorce you because you made a B minus? Like, this is crazy. Like, I just wanted to know, but it was having to remove all of those layers of protection to allow people to see that I did fail and I'm okay. And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, I know how I got here, and I literally have to go write down, how did I get here today?
Right.
How did this happen? I lost my job as a nurse manager. Like, I got fired. They call it a voluntary resignation. I got fired.
Oh
But
wow.
it was, what did I learn from it? How did that make me a better person? How did that make me want to sit down and say, if we're thinking about leaders in nursing, what type of experience should a person really have?
Yeah.
And, we put a lot on leaders sometimes. And I did feel like I couldn't fail. I felt like I was failing patients, failing the nurses, failing. It took me a very long time to get over because of being that person who was their everything.
Yeah.
So,
But you do have the designation.
yeah, yeah, I do.
So
I do.
you failed during the process in your words, but ultimately you were a success. in my book.
ultimately, I never gave up. I never thought it was impossible. I was just like, this is on days that I didn't think I was strong enough, I still pull myself through over. I leaned on people. There were times that I cried on the first day of school to get my doctorate. I did not want to be there. And everybody was like, you can't do this. Someone brought to my attention imposter syndrome. I
Yes,
struggle with
yes,
that.
yes.
I struggle with
Big
that. I
time.
was like, how am I? Because
Same.
I sat in a room. No, you know how it is. Sometimes you sit in a room. I was sitting in a room with chief nursing officers with 20 plus years of experience, CNEs of health systems who had did all this stuff. And I was like,
It's intimidating.
I'm here because I flunked out of this program, and then I did this other program, and I don't have as much experience as you all do. I feel kind of out of place. It was very very intimidating, and I couldn't find how do I compete, and I
Right.
couldn't.
But think about this for a moment, though. The last time I looked, there's roughly close to 10 million nurses in the U.S. There's about 3 million that are registered nurses. There's only probably a few 100,000 that are nurse practitioners. And if I go to doctors of nurse practitioner, the pool is very small. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what that number is. It's probably certainly isn't 100,000.
No, it isn't.
Right.
We just pool is never. It's not. Yes, very
Yeah.
small.
So it's interesting as you're talking about this. Well, I filled out of this program, whatever, and literally out of 10 million nurses, you're one of the less than 100,000 that made to the point of DNP.
Hmm.
So I mean, we have to kind of marinate on that just a little bit too, right? I mean,
We
we
do,
have to celebrate the
because
successes for a moment.
it took me, let me tell you, Ralph, even on the day I graduated, I was still planning and organizing for people to attend. It took me almost a year to actually be like, girl, do you know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
just happened?
yeah.
Look at you. I
So
mean, like your life has really moved ahead from where I used to be
yeah,
to be able to have that happen.
It's the mindset of a nurse is very, very different, I feel, than the mindset of many others when it comes to that, because nurses are so incredibly hard on themselves
yeah,
for very good reasons. Your ability to succeed is a success to the patient on the other end of that bed. And no matter how you transcribe that into any other schooling or field, you will always have that genetic makeup of, you have to always try to be your best, and your best is usually never not good enough.
Right.
And there's so many opportunities I can relate with you on what you talked about. But I want to go back to, I know you said you woke up one day and you're like, aha, but what was the triggering moment? Because usually everyone has this epiphany when they hit that moment of, I'm not a failure, I could do this, oh my God, I am doing this. Do you remember what triggered that moment? And to actually talk about it, because you're in a place where not many people have the courage to actually just say that. And I feel like I speak ad nauseum about this type of similar situation, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, it's that's why I said it's taken me a long time to get here. I had PTSD. I remember the day that I was in my therapist's office, and she said, I believe you are bipolar 2, and I would like for you to go see the medication doctor to be put on medication. When I heard the words medication, and that was probably almost 3 years ago, when I heard the word medication, it was like, oh no, what do I need to do to get rid of this? Like, she was like, what do you mean get rid of it? And I was like, like, how do I go about, I don't want to be on medication. I don't want that. So what do I need to do that? And she was like, listen, okay, so what you're proposing is hard. And you are going to have to work through your trauma. You are going to have to work through your abuse. First of all, Noel, this is what I had to do. I actually had to embrace and acknowledge that I have went through what I went through, because I never really accepted. I never conceded to. And now I say that that's my survival method. That's how I survived, because the reality is that when you grow up in a certain type of environment, that's your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so you believe that that's how your life is supposed to go. And I really, in the moment when she said, you have to go see this other doctor because you're back and forth, you're all over the place and chaotic. I had to embrace who I was as a child, and that I had an overwhelming feeling to be rescued. And I still was holding on to, I need to be rescued. I want to be rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very important to me that I wasn't a victim. I did
Mm-hmm.
not want to be a victim. I didn't want to play the race card. I didn't want to play the woman card. I didn't want to be a victim. And I really started off with, honestly, I had to figure out food, what foods, it made me inflamed, my pain. I studied the brain and the mind and how that worked. I had to study what being bipolar was. I had to
Mm-hmm.
talk to different people to understand. And I left the hospital and I went to corporate, and I thought, this is going to be good, but I still had that same energy and pace. And what happened was I had to sit down.
Mm.
I had to sit down because the work that I was doing was so different. It was so much new things to learn. And I really was burning the candle at both ends. And I really had to sit down and I had to be quiet and listen to myself. And I started writing. I started
For
writing
you.
a lot. And
Mm.
and people would say, girl, you got a book in you. I tell little pieces of my story. And then I was like, let's string it all together then. Why do I feel this way? I lost my mother, the person who was my mother at 7. I went to a funeral, all these things that just like
Yeah.
piled up. I saw abuse. I am a domestic violence survivor. I had all
Wow.
these things. It was like all the stuff that I
Mm-hmm.
was like, the strength that I have is actually bottling up. And it's okay. And let me tell you, I was so afraid to ask for help. I cried. The girl who was my
Mm-hmm.
therapist, the woman who was my therapist, went to my gym, and I cried to her, and I was
Wow.
like, I need help. I kind of got us in a private, we would talk all the time, and I was like, I need your help, but I don't know. I mean, and everything. It was a food addiction, it was a shopping
Mm-hmm.
addiction, it was a money making addiction, it was attention. It was
Right.
attention all up. And it was just kind of like, I was really like, I want to be in control of my life. I'm tired.
Yeah.
My
Good for
husband is
you.
a wonderful man. He rescued me. He actually did.
I love
He is
it.
a wonderful, wonderful man. But I also felt like we have 5 kids, and this man is tired. And I want to learn how to stand on my own too. It was me. Like, I
Right.
just wanted to be like,
Good
I'm
for
not
you.
disabled. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for
But-
sharing that story. That's
You're
so
welcome.
powerful.
No, we appreciate it. No, and I want to also just make sure I acknowledge some of the folks in the comments. We got Patty. Hi, Patty. She came in. We've got
Hi, Patty.
Hazel Green, Alabama, and then we got Holly's coming from Sonoma County in California. Good to see you, Holly. And also, I wanted to ask you before we're going to give out a book here. I wanted to ask you. By the way, before I ask you something, I want to give you something here. This is from our virtual community. Okay. After that, see,
Oh,
see,
thank
we
you.
all need those, right?
I
Yeah.
feel love.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to mention was, or ask you is there a book that you've read that impacted you so much that you would want to read it again? What book would that be?
Oh, The Secret Garden.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, why?
Because you know what, that little boy was in a wheelchair, and there was that girl, the girl, the main character. She came into this grand household, and she found him dying, basically in a wheelchair, tucked away in a room. And it reminds me of Florence Nightingale and Orem and some of our early theorists in nursing that were like, love, outside, doing things that are just, natural are the way to heal. And I had that imagination, I had that vision in my mind that going outside and doing those things was always a place, is a special place for me when I go out in nature. I still do it, take little hikes and walks and stuff there. And that is where I heal. And it is a place of healing and you do need somebody, and people will support you when you think they don't, because your thoughts are upside down.
Yep.
And you have to look for the positive in nature and things that happen naturally to turn that thought, so then you can stop being scared of people.
I appreciate that. Okay. So guys, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to win a book, and you can either win one of the ones that I'm going to show on the screen here, or you can choose Secret Garden if you'd like. And let me just put it up on the screen here. 1 second. Those are the different books that we have available. And so the challenge that we're going to do for today is, should we do a trivia question, or should we do the word challenge? What do you think we should do, guys?
I like that word challenge.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do the word challenge. Okay. So in honor of Dr. Cornell, we're going to do the word challenge. And the word challenge for today, I'm going to make it real easy for you. We're going to do, well, not too easy. Let's do the word. Okay, we'll do this. We're going to do an easy one to start off with. Let's do the word. No, we're going to do 2 words. We're going to do 2 words. Yeah.
Now it's hard.
Yeah. So we're going to do 2 words. All right. So the first word I want us to do, the first challenge I want us to do is fail, F-A-I-L. Go for it. I want you to go for that one. And then it's not going to stop there. So just go ahead and do fail, F-A-I-L. If you're new to the show, you've got to type it in separate comments in order to win, and you cannot be interrupted. And I'm going to pick one from if one of our LinkedIn VIPs wins, they'll of course win. But then I'm also going to give an additional one to one who's not a LinkedIn Live VIP. Okay, so that way even the new ones can get a chance to win a book. Okay, so fail is the first one. So Joe, let me know the first person to reach that, and then we're going to give them the opportunity to do another challenge. So I want to make it real easy. Fail is the word. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get a trivia question ready too. So I'll have it. And I want to ask you a question. This is an interesting one. I want to see where this goes, Alisha. What lies did your parents or someone that you trusted tell you when you were a child? Give me an example.
Dang. This is a good one. Let me see. What lies did they tell me? Oh.
You can just go for one. It doesn't have to be multiple. Just you can one.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, that was one lie. That I always had to be the best. That always had to be the best. Yep.
A good one.
How did you come to realization that it's okay not to be the best?
It's when I got tired of always coming to a table. No, let's go back. This is the truth.
Okay.
Somebody cussed me out at a table one time, and I was I didn't have to be. I was in competition with a person unintentionally, and they cussed me out in the middle of us trying to get a project together because I was trying to be the best, and I was not open to hearing her out, even because we had specific instructions from our leader, and she was going outside of the instructions, and I was very rigid, was not being flexible. And I didn't take the time out. I was being very abrasive and very rude, and she cussed me out in front of my manager.
Wow.
That's when I was like, this is not working. What happened here?
So at that time, your pursuit to be the best was causing friction between you and the other folks you were on the project with.
Exactly. So even though we had specific instructions on what not to do, years later, I can look back and say, if I had listened to her, we probably could have came up with a better solution.
Yeah.
That still would have given her the opportunity to contribute her way.
That right there is such a key point that I think any of us can learn from that. I don't care what background you're from,
100%.
and it deserves this. I love that.
And it goes back to really where you're at right now. I mean, if you were told that in your childhood and that gets instilled in your brain about always being the best, and you incorporate that term into what works for you and what that looks like. So that was your thought of, this is what being the best means in my world right now.
Yeah.
And kudos for you to actually be able to take that step back and realize, oh my gosh, no.
Okay, so I want to hear what
That's
you guys
awesome.
that actually I do have someone who already commented. So I do want to hear what everybody let us know. What lies were you told by either a parent or a trusted person when you were younger that maybe they didn't mean to lie to you? Okay, we're not saying that they had bad motives. We're just saying you just found out it wasn't true, right, when you got older. So one of them is Patty says, my dad said eating the bread crust makes your hair curly. Oh, goodness. Okay. Do we have a winner? Oh, so Kendra won. She came in and just won another one. So congratulations to Kendra.
Good job, Kendra.
We're going to give her a round of applause. Congratulations.
Swoop it right in.
You. Good job. Okay.
Took it and ran. Good girl.
All right. So I got another one here, guys. Here's another trivia question. And okay, here we go. Which system stimulates hormone production to influence body function? A, reproductive, B, endocrine, C, digestive, D, immune system. Okay, so I don't want you guys to answer
I
yet.
know. I was like,
Please do not answer yet. Okay.
like, is this a trick question? Is this a joke?
Okay, so in the comments, the first one to answer that question correctly will win a copy of the book. Okay. So I wanted to give them as an option. Okay.
No Googling.
No Googling. Okay. So would you rather an open-ended question or would you like a would you rather question?
Well, Don, I have a thought to that too. When you ask a question that Alisha and I know the answer to for like a future thing, one of us should give the wrong answer, and then the audience should guess to see who's actually
the wrong answer giver.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like it.
The truth.
I kind of like that.
Telling the truth, Noelle or Alisha?
Yep.
Speaking of that, I want you to think about this, Alisha.
Okay.
Give us 2 lies and 1 truth about yourself.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna guess which one is the truth about you. Okay, so give us 2 lies and a truth.
I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I have been in an MMA fight before.
Really?
I have, I don't like chicken.
And you don't like, okay, so you don't like chicken. You've been in an MMA fight before, and you were born where?
In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Actually, let's take off the one I don't like chicken. We can take that one off. Let's replace it with... So I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've been in an MMA fight.
Okay.
And I, let's see, what else?
Let's see. So Noelle, is she thinking about her truth or her lie right now?
I forgot I used to play basketball. I played basketball in high school. I was actually one of the all-stars in my basketball.
Okay, so played basketball in high school, one of the all-stars. She was in an MMA fight, and she was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay, so in the comments, I want you to tell me which one of those do you think is actually the truth? You don't even have to tell me the lies. Just tell me which one of those 3 is actually the truth. First one to answer that will also win a copy of one of the books on our list. Okay, so... Kendra says she can't see anybody else's comments. Patty guessed endocrine so far. Let me do a refresh. And let me just see here. Okay, so when I refresh it, it said, I don't see. Okay, I don't see any new comments. Okay, so sometimes they have issues with that on LinkedIn. Where sometimes the comments just stop working. I have to keep refreshing for them to work again. All right, so the thing we had first was, just in case you missed it, guys, the trivia question is, which system stimulates Which system stimulates hormone production to influence body function? Reproductive, endocrine, digestive, or immune? And I'm forbidding them to answer because it's too easy for them. So you guys in the comments, answer that question for us, please. And the first one to answer will win a copy of the book. And the second thing is you want to guess which one is the truth out of these three things. Two of them are a lie. One of them is the truth. One of them is that she was in an MMA fight. She was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and that she was a basketball all-star in high school. So which one of those is the truth? We want to see your answers to either one of those. Now, we're going to give them time to answer. Let's go back into our conversation.
Okay.
Do you think that you could become successful without recognizing or being honest about your failures? What do you think about that?
I think that you could achieve the societal definition of success. I think that you can get promoted. I think that you can run a company. I think that you can do all of those things. I think that if you want to be a successful person for yourself, you have to embrace those failures, because you can market your way to every position in life, but you will always be lying to yourself about who you are. And I think when you do that, you have these struggles when you get into different situations where you have to be yourself and you have to be honest, and you can't, because you have this block, because you haven't accepted that failure is okay. And I've seen it so many times with different leaders, all the way up to the CEO level, who could not acknowledge that they had any failures and that everything was a win. And they lost so big because they couldn't just admit, hey, we're not doing a good job right now.
Right.
And how are we going to, to rethink this?
Yeah.
Dropping the mic on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
And no matter what, it will catch up to you, whether it's in months or years from now. It catches up to you. And that's what everybody needs to understand. And it comes to you physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. It comes to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some more answers. So Holly says B for endocrine. Kendra says I'm back. She left and came back.
Hey, Kendra.
Welcome back.
Karen's here. Hey, Karen. Good to see you again. Karen Bick. And Patty says played basketball is the truth.
Okay.
Karen says Lindercrism. What does that mean? Maybe she's talking about endocrine. Maybe she's playing around with the endocrine thing.
She was.
I don't know. I don't know. Help me out with that one, Karen. I think she might have been doing play on words with the endocrine thing. Okay, so do we have any more guesses? Should I wait any more? Let me just do one more refresh to see if we have any guesses for either our trivia question or the two lies and a truth. So I'm just going to, okay, I just hit a refresh. Okay, so let's see. First of all, the answer to the question, which system stimulates hormone production to influence body function? I'm going to go ahead and let you answer. What do you think, Alisha?
Endocrine.
Yes, that's correct. Of course.
All right.
Okay.
I was hoping to say something off the wall.
Check my credentials.
So the first one to answer endocrine, Joe, is going to be the winner. So go ahead and announce who that is if you don't mind. I saw a couple people say endocrine, which is awesome. And then the other one is, okay, we're all in suspense here. So the other one is you gave us two lies and a truth. So did you go the MMA fight? Were you an all-star in basketball in high school, or were you born in Philadelphia, PA? Which one is the answer?
I can fight.
Man, I feel it. God, we are such the same person.
Yeah.
I feel like we came from the same womb.
Yes,
Everything you are talking about, we are the same.
I can fight. I'm 5'2". I'm petite. I'm small, but I can fight. I used to think I kept seeing those images of women being put into somebody's trunk, and I was like, no, I am going to fight. And I want to learn how to fight.
You know, that's how I broke my leg too. Did I tell you that?
Oh my goodness.
I broke tibial plateau fracture. I was in a wheelchair last year for 10 weeks.
I just finished breaking my arm. I broke my wrist.
Oh my
Jiu-jitsu gone
goodness.
wrong.
I broke my wrist doing boxing right
my
before COVID. Oh my God.
I love
We
it.
have two.
Oh my God.
We have
this is
two
amazing.
nurses who are also fighters. On,
Yeah, but you
on
know
the
what,
show
Rollins?
today.
I'm gonna tell you what the best thing about learning how to fight boxing or MMA, just learning it.
Okay.
You know what it does? It reduces the fear that you're going to get beat up. So you don't even think about fighting because you know how to respond. So it becomes like this automatic response if somebody were to provoke you. But the thing I learned about fighting the most is you don't have to. You don't
Right.
have to. Like, you know that you can fight, so you don't have to. And it made me more relaxed in different situations, especially
100%.
with men, especially with men, because I already had a psychological traumatic experience from my past of being fearful of men. And so when I learned how to fight, and I learned from a woman coach first, and then I learned boxing from a male coach. But it helped me to, I call it garbage truck dumping. I dump trash out of but it helped me to relate, how to not be afraid. Sometimes, even now, I may be the only woman in the room, and I have to sometimes defend what I'm saying.
Yes.
And just
Mhm.
answer.
Okay.
And so instead of being offended, I already know how to defend myself, how to prepare. So when I walk into these like C-suite meetings,
Mhm.
I'm not intimidated, because sometimes
So
I'm
spot
talking about
on.
things people don't know. If I'm talking to our client and they're in a different space and they're a COO, they don't know what I know. So I don't have to worry. They just they're
Mhm.
trying to learn. So that's what, and it doesn't feel good to get punched in the face. So that also helps you to not pick a fight.
Okay. Well, you've
love
definitely
it.
been convincing here. Now Now Karen says that's the acronym for body systems. Lindercrism. I didn't know that.
Oh.
LENDERCRISM.
Digestive. Oh, I see.
That
what
makes
she said.
sense. Totally.
It was all of it. It was
It was all of it together.
She's a
Wow.
smart cookie.
Okay. We gotta
Party
give.
pants right there. I
Let-
love it.
She created a path to yes.
Let's
I
get
love
okay.
that.
I think that deserves a book right there too. I like it. I like that answer. Let me give it a
Me
little
too. I'm gonna give her a
applause.
round of applause for
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Great time.
Okay. So Karen gets a book too. Love it. That was awesome. Okay. So Holly was the first to comment, but I don't think you could see her comment. Congrats, Holly Kalua. Okay, so it looks like Holly Kalua got it.
Nice.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's give her a big. We're gonna give her a big cheer with this one here. All right, Holly.
I like that one.
Yeah. Let's go, Holly.
All right, way to go. She got it. Okay. So, and Patty says, that's funny. I had MMA and deleted it. I should trust my instincts. Laugh out loud. So Patty actually guessed it right.
See?
Yes.
Go with your gut.
Yep.
That goes back to our theme of our show. You got to be willing to fail, right? Put yourself out there.
Yes.
I love it. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our, before we go back to the discussion, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Would you rather have a plugged nose or perpetually plugged ears?
Ooh, a nose.
Why's
A
that?
nose. Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. I need to hear things. I want to hear things.
Equilibrium,
Yeah.
all that.
Okay. All right. So in the comments, what would you rather? Would you rather plugged nose or plugged ears if you had to choose between the two? I don't know, man. I guess the breathing, man, that's tough. But I guess you always breathe through your mouth, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could, and like, do you mean like plugged with like congestion and like boogers, or like are we talking like just plugged like this? I mean, 'cause if you have like one of those swimming things on your nose, like I can deal with it. It depends on what you're plugged with.
That's a good point. But you can frame the question however you want. See.
I'm still going with the nose, no matter what
Okay.
you can do. You can give me no nose, and I would still choose that over like clogged ears, because
Okay.
it makes you dizzy, nauseous, your equilibrium. You got to think about all that kind of
That's
stuff.
true. See, that's the nurse coming out, and you're talking about
Yeah,
the
the
body
pressure.
systems and all that.
Yeah.
Kendra says, I definitely can see how MMA skills can help build confidence and diminish fears in other areas of life. And Karen's happy about her book. She says, I told you I was a biology geek.
I love it.
Patty says, I don't feel like I need training with fighting. I'm a middle child.
Right.
Holly says, you girls.
Middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Holly says, you girls really rock, or rather rocky.
Exactly.
That's
funny.
great. That was a good one.
Okay, so going back to our discussion about success and failure, what about those who are experiencing, let's say those who are out there watching, they feel like they've got just a run of failures. I mean, it's just not, it's all thorns right now in their perspective. Help us to reframe that. What would you say to that person who feel like they're just going through a tough string of failures right now?
Find the rose, because you said it's all thorns, and all thorns come on the rose. So you have to find where, you have to think of it as, go through each and every scenario and literally write it down. What did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn? Because sometimes you have to see that what you thought was a negative was actually for your own good. I talked about not getting those positions. There was 2 specific positions that I wanted. Right now, the people that are in those positions, because I still work for the same company, are 2 people who have taught me so many more things. And actually, one of those people who was my direct leader took so much junk off of my plate that did not belong to me. She actually became one of my biggest advocates and supportive people for not bombarding me with work that does not belong to me, and helped me learn how to give the ball back to the person that it belongs to. So you have to think of it as, what did I learn? Because when you start going through, and you're like, is maybe you probably don't even know, it's probably not even the right time for whatever decision you're trying to make, wherever you're trying to go or grow. And then do you just need, some of us are workaholics, and you need a moment sometime to be quiet and to sit down, because you might be going on a path that's not for you.
Right.
And if you can be quiet, then you can find this other, like, I thought being a leader at the hospital was like my path. And then I was like, but I'm really good at technology. I'm really good at evaluating analytics. And I started learning. I took business in school, and then I started to apply it. And then I'm like, I see what a CEO needs. Every department in this organization functions as a business. And how do you do this? And then one day I looked up, I'm going to be honest, I wanted to prove somebody wrong, because they made me really angry. And they told me, healthcare, but you don't know business.
Oh,
I was like, what?
That's
my piece of paper,
of the year.
My notepad out. And I took a lot of energy. I set up meetings with different people. I started studying, because and at the beginning I was like, I'm going to prove this girl so wrong.
Right.
Because I know what I'm talking about. But what happened was, through that process, the doors started opening to all of these different perspectives, all of these different opportunities, people inviting me to different things, because I had effort. I stopped trying to prove myself and just listening, because then I started learning how other people wanted to help you. Other leaders love to tell their story. They love to support you. And I saw that that slap in the face actually opened my potential. It made me, so I can thank her. And it was like, it ended up being that what she was talking about in specific for a specific project ended up being a huge, big deal that everybody was involved in. And I was so happy, because I had to shed all type of stuff about myself. I wrote a list one day, 68 things.
What? Oh my
68
goodness.
negative things that I was thinking about myself because I had this block and I was trying to write
Wow.
stuff and I couldn't think. And it was 68 negative things that I was saying to myself in that moment. I just started writing. What are the things? You're not good enough.
Wow.
You're not smart enough. You don't know. But I started, and then I was like, look at this. No wonder I can't even get out a paragraph because all these things are in my thoughts.
Right.
Now, how are you taking inventory of all your strengths? Because yeah, you can get that 68, but whatever things you have. But what about the list of the positives? Because you got so many.
So this is right. So this is what I started doing. Everybody that I work with, talk to, I start listening to. I start if we're working on I work on so many different client projects.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I do it now. Did they get a promotion? Most of the time, yes, they got some type of promotion because we worked on some crazy project. For me, I was like, what did I let go of? Look at how many things you let go of for yourself. Did I celebrate myself every week? I try to have like a special Friday night dinner.
Okay.
So that's my celebratory. Hey,
Yeah.
look at, you know, you're good this week. You did a good job. And even like sometimes I give myself stickers.
That is
Hey, you
great.
did not spaz out. You get a sticker on your board today so that I can start to quantify like
Self-recognition. I
Yeah, I
love
like
it.
it.
yes, like how am I doing? And then not even being afraid to ask people I'm working with, like, hey, how do you know, we do a quarterly review of our performance. And then I start writing, and my leader now is like, you know, wow, I can't believe that you actually said you had a problem. I never knew that this was a struggle for you, but here's how I saw that you handled it. And here, you know, these are solutions. Somebody I talked to, a coach recently said, why do you don't come to always to the table with a problem? Why don't you come with the problem and think about a solution so you're
Yes.
not, you know, so that
Yes.
you're contributing, you're engaging, and someone can
Yes.
help direct you. Don't wait for somebody to tell you where your life is going.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's a great
They
point.
don't know.
So I got
Right.
I got to give some kudos to your leader for taking some things off your plate, but I want to give
Yes.
bigger kudos for yourself looking back at that what would be perceived as a failure or a loss. You actually took it as a win because you saw the benefits from it and you saw how it benefited you. So I think that deserves right here. That was good.
All right.
Yeah, that was great. No, it's good. You know, now what I want to do, everybody in the comments, let's learn from Alisha right now. Okay, let's share a failure and what we learned from it. What's a failure that we experienced, but the positive that we learned from it? Okay, I'll share a failure. Let's see, I got so many. Okay, so I knew whenever I was working at my last company, my last job, quote unquote job that I had, worked for someone else, is I was like, you know what, this is really no longer the spot for me. So let me find another place. And as I was looking for those other places, I felt that I lacked the measure of humility that I should have had, and I did not get any of those positions that I was looking for. And then also part of me, I think I learned later, didn't really want a job. I really wanted to run my own company. That was just in me. And so I was going on those interviews to go for the safe thing. But for me, you know, and everybody's cut out for it. You know, some people are entrepreneurs, some people aren't, and it's just I don't know why, but it's just in me. But I felt at that, and then when I started to do my own business, the first couple of projects I started working on, which one of them was sales coaching, another one was selling EMR software.
Mhm.
I learned something from them, but for all intents and purposes, from a business perspective, they were failures, massive. But from a learning perspective, I learned so much from those two experiences. One, I had a partner in one of those, and I learned how to work with a partner a little bit better. And so I knew going into my next relationship, I was going to have another partnership, things I could work on in that situation. And then with the other situation with the sales coaching, I really needed more sales experience, more, you know, hitting my nose, you know, getting blood in my nose up a little bit more, I think, before I could really go out there and do the sales coaching better. And I wasn't a success at that either. But I look back at those situations and I'm glad those things happened because that led me to the path of getting back into recruiting, starting my own recruiting business. And I've had this business, and I'm so thankful, thank God for this, for the past 11 years. So
That's amazing.
It's
yeah.
all perspective and how you take it, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, it goes back to the saying of the glass half full or empty. And what are you going to do with that? You either take failure or you spiral down with it, or you take failure and you learn and grow from it.
Yeah. So
And I think-
no, you want to share? You got want to share with us? And it goes in the comments. I want give me a failure and something you learned from it. Go for it, Noelle. You got one for us?
Oh, I thought you were waiting for somebody in the comments.
No,
I was like, I'm like
remember,
in suspense.
We have to give them time to answer because it's not, you know, they're a few seconds behind us. So
I think one of my biggest failures that I learned from after more than one time of doing the same thing was that you can't always lead and do for when you're, and this is as a child in high school, in college, until now, I always had to be front and center. I always had to be the one to answer the question, to do, to lead, because it was my way and I know it was going to be right. And this is what I was. And anytime that happened, the letdown was right there. But it took me a couple of falls, face plants, continuously to really see and mature through that, to figure out, maybe there are different ways of doing things because what I'm doing now is not working. And you learn from that, but leading into the leadership role too, depending on what you're doing, it's the same thing. You have to trip and fall and say, what is it about me that I'm not seeing that other people are that I need to correct? And I always thought that, you know, people gave their spiel, but I was like, no, this way, we could do this. And now when I do that, I sit back and I wait and I listen. And I realize some of the quietest people that I've ever met are some of the smartest, well-balanced individuals, because they take in everything they hear around them before they even execute on any word message that they're going to deliver. And that is so important.
Yeah.
So
Alisha, you know, in our business, in our healthcare industry, you know, I just got to tell you what I've noticed just being in the business in 16 years now. There is a hesitancy to want to share failures, right? I mean, you don't want to share failures, especially when we're dealing with patients, obviously, right? So in this business, there is a hesitancy to do that. So with that in mind, give us some strategies, some tools we can use where we still feel safe to be able to do that, or will we never feel safe? Give us some advice on that as far as exposing those failures.
I think the first thing is that psychological safety. I think that you have to, first of all, check on that first. If you have a fear of losing your job because you want to be yourself, and it all depends on, I had to learn, and I'm going to tell you, when you said how long you've been in business and how you found your way and everything, and I'll tell you, it is right now, me sitting here is through the grace of God and being patient, and Noelle, like, listening. And I use, and this is just for myself, I use my Bible as instructions for my life. And you know, when I walk into different spaces now, I still have to go to Bible study, and I still have to have a teacher, you know, to show me and help me to understand, like, when you want to reveal yourself, you have to first be okay with seeing who you are in your own space at your own time. Do not push it, because the moment that you start associating it with a timeline or a deadline, you put that same pressure back on yourself.
Yeah.
And I wrote, I'm stuttering because this is hard to say, but I wrote letters to people that I felt like I had burned a bridge with.
Oh, wow.
Hard.
Did you mail it? Did you mail it or you kept it?
I emailed it.
What?
Actually sent it to their email, and the hardest thing was admitting that I understood. It was accepting responsibility. I understood I was wrong. But do you know what the other part was?
What's that?
When they would write back and say, I didn't What are you talking about?
What?
I
They
learned
didn't
that
even
majority
remember.
of the time it was just how
Oh, that's a
I
lesson.
perceived it.
That's a lesson right there. And
So you
I know
have
what you
to,
mean. Yep.
you have to like be okay with being psychologically safe, because let me tell you, I used to get, okay, I would do a vulnerable thing, like I'm gonna tell something about myself, and I would go cry. Oh my goodness, like I would break down, like, oh, what is Rollins gonna think of me? Oh my God, what is he gonna say? Rollins would be like, I thought that was strong. I didn't think nothing else of it. I was happy for you, moved on. So it is you have to put yourself in a
Yeah.
mind state where you can and be open-minded in accepting that what people are telling you or saying to you, it is the truth, and you have to dig into it. It may sound negative, but when you dig into it, they might not say it with a smile, and everybody's not going to talk to you how
Yeah.
you want to be talked
Right.
to.
Right.
You got to dig, and you have to listen to what that message is that they're trying to say. Everybody is not out to get you.
I love
What
it.
a lesson. Psychologically safe. That is a take home for today.
Yeah. That deserved that right there. I love that. That was good. Okay. Let me go back to the comments here. We got quite a few who answered. So, Patty said, she said plug nose. I can live with being a mouth breather. Kendra says, I agree with a plug nose. Patty says, I lost my consulting position due to lack of contracts being signed and 2 positions being eliminated from my team. During my time there, I made valuable new connections and received my N4 Cloud Suite certification. Okay, so she got her certification out of that. She says, my son had an extremely serious accident shortly after. Had I been working at the time, I may not have even been in the state when it happened. Ooh.
Exactly.
Ooh, look at
Exactly.
that. Well, I'm getting a little
Yep.
chills on that one.
Everything is on purpose.
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness, that was excellent, Patty. Not that happened, but it's
No,
excellent
but
that
thank
you were
you for
in.
sharing that.
Yeah, what
Thank
you
you.
learned from it
And-
and sharing it and everything.
And he needed her attention.
Yes,
So,
yes,
you know.
she needed him. He needed her,
Yes.
and she needed to be there. She felt.
Yes.
I know she, as a mother, she felt like she
Wanted
needed
to
to be there, and she was there.
Yep, exactly.
I love that. Okay. So Kendra says, working for what is considered a top hospital and trying to do everything the right way did not work in my favor because I did not complete my work as quickly as my peers that were taking shortcuts and jeopardizing quality of work. Unfortunately, I was let go. My lesson is to ask thorough questions about the culture of the job.
That's true.
Yeah. She said, I can relate to Dr. Cornell.
And thank you. I can relate to you too, Miss Kendra. And also, do you want to work for an employer that's okay accepting shortcuts just to say
Right.
the work's
Exactly.
done?
Exactly.
You
That's a
know?
red flag right there.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. This has been a golden hour. I really appreciate you. I cannot believe the hour is already gone. We did give out a few books, which is cool. Now, those who are watching the comments, what is the point that just resonated with you the most about what we talked about today? I want to see that. Alisha wants to see that. And I know Noelle wants to see that. So put in the comments, what is it that resonated with you? What lesson are you going to take away from today that you think will serve you well? Alisha, I mean, there's so many things that you dropped. One of the things that is the most recent in my mind is how something really bothered you. You went through so much angst to write this email. You sent it and they didn't even remember what you were talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And about how we mentally go through these stories in our mind that it actually in some cases was unnecessary.
Mhm.
But it was necessary if you go through that journey and get through that. I appreciate that because
Yeah.
you realized and you were self-aware. But yeah, it's like we put a lot
Overthinking.
extra overthinking.
Yeah, we overthink, and it burns your energy. So you can't be as successful because your mind is tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tired.
Well, appreciate you sharing your story. I hope other
Thank
people
you.
get maximum benefit out of this. I know I did. Those who are watching the replay, comment. Let us know how you feel and what you thought about what you read today. Patty says he was weight bearing only on his right arm for 3.5 months. He has fully recovered with lots of new hardware. So we're happy about that. We're going to give that an applause too here. Let's do that. Yes. Patty's son. That's
You've
awesome.
got a mama like you.
You got a mama like Patty.
That's
Yes,
right.
That's right. Well, listen, thank you once again. Alisha, you're doing great things. Keep
Thank you.
inspiring
Thank you,
others.
Alisha.
We love it. And Noelle, thank you for stepping up to the plate. You know, My compadre Leah
Always.
was sick today, and Noelle stepped in her place. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
I'm sorry she's sick, but it was meant to be. This was such a great discussion, Alisha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Noelle. It's a pleasure.
I know you're like my twin. I love it.
So stay on for a few pauses, for a few poses rather. If we're going to pose for just some few little shots here in a second. But let's go ahead and wave bye to everybody. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us
Bye,
today.
everyone.
Have a great rest
Thank
of the day.
you.
And we'll just do a couple of quick poses for the editors that they can possibly use for a thumbnail, okay? So we'll do a happy one. And then we do like a crazy one. Okay. All right, it was great. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Yeah,
You
you
too.
too. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.